of that building.
Certainly.
Hey, John, let's talk about some of your law work. And I'll just sort of lay it on the line a little bit here. You know, you recently represented Christy Lozano to get in her efforts to get on the ballot after there was a rather, and I mean, this is no surprise, very foolish challenge to her, politically foolish, I'll say, as a pundit of
Sure.
just doesn't look good. You're trying to, this person supposedly is not a threat, but yet you're going to sue to not have her on the ballot.
Right.
That's a bad look. If you really think your team's more qualified, well, let her run and
Sure.
let things happen, and it wasn't like she was off the street. She did have, a case, as you eloquently made in
Oh,
court.
right.
So I thought that was sort of foolish. Like, don't do that. Like, just let her run.
Yeah,
If the
I totally
county
agree. That's
assessor,
why I
clerk,
stepped up. That's exactly why I stepped up on that. Is that some folks had brought, I didn't know her. I had never met her before. People had come to me with their concerns and had said that she was, a school teacher who had the credential, who had put her name in the hat and had filed her candidate papers to serve as superintendent, and that there was a legal challenge made. And the legal challenge, although it was filed in the name of a local resident, clearly that was not the person really behind the challenge. I'm sure she supported the idea of not having this individual be elected, but it was something that had come from out of our city, with a big law firm in Sacramento who, does a lot of these types of cases. And I looked at it and I said, yeah, that seems unjust. Seems like we have outside influence coming to Santa Barbara trying to influence our elections. And to your point, keeping somebody off the ballot is a cheap way to win. If competition is healthy, I'm certainly a big proponent of that. Competition is good for the consumer. And so really there ought to be more choices, not less choices, right?
yeah.
So they brought me the case and I looked at it and I researched the law and I felt strongly that the case was ill-advised, as you said, not just politically, but legally, that they did not have solid grounds to challenge this candidacy. What was interesting and maybe not known as much is that one of the reasons that they argued against Ms. Lozano's name being on the ballot is they said, well, Atherton County, the registrar of voters in Atherton County also had this very same question where they had a teacher who had the credential, had not pulled the credentials yet, because you can't pull them until you have an administrative job, and was trying to run for superintendent. And that registrar of voters made the decision to keep him off the ballot. And so this Sacramento firm had argued in Santa Barbara County that we ought to follow Atherton's lead on that. And I had been in touch with the attorney for that candidate, actually. And he had said, well, we're thinking of legally challenging, and we're sort of sitting back and waiting to see how you do in your defense of this issue before we file an affirmative claim to get him onto the ballot. And so we did go forward and we were successful in defending, in defending Joe Holland's position, which was the right position, which was, hey, more candidates, not less. This person is qualified. This person does have the credentials necessary to serve if elected. There is plenty of time for her to pull those credentials if she's elected to the position. So he made the decision to allow her candidacy to stand. He was vindicated in court. He had made the right choice. The judge agreed with his choice. And then the candidate in Atherton hired me to come up there and to bring an affirmative action challenging that registrar of voters decision. And interestingly, I think that the same firm was involved, though they didn't file pleadings in that particular instance. And we were successful there as well. So we were successful in Santa Barbara County, and we were successful in Atherton County to have the candidate's name on the ballot. And I believe that the candidate in Atherton County was elected, was successful in that election.
Yeah.
And people had asked me, they said, well, what was the political leanings of that candidate? I don't know. I don't know. I was arguing the legal propriety of letting the candidate stand. I don't know what what he stood for. I didn't know much about Christy Lozano, what she stood for. I like Christy very much, but it didn't matter to me, and it doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter to anybody. I didn't care if she was a liberal or a libertarian or an independent or a Republican or what her affiliation was. It was just wrong to try to keep her off the ballot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was a political misstep because it elevated her status. I mean, all of a sudden, people were talking about her, and in the game of politics, you don't want people talking about your opponent.
No such news as bad news. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it made her have, the appearance that she was being wrong, that there was this democratic machine.
I would say it wasn't just the appearance. She was being wronged. She was being wronged, and we righted that.
Yeah. And I guess the question I guess I want to ask you, John, is you're smart and you know all this stuff. And I know, you said you liked Christie, and then afterward you supported her, and I mean, when you look at those credentials, though, you look at Susan Salcido's credentials and years of experience. If you take partisan politics out of it, she's not a Democrat, but just the experience, and you have Christie. I mean, wouldn't you hire Susan? Like, isn't that an easy? No disrespect to Christie, but just on the experience level.
No, I would say that in my career, in my experience, in my life, I have hired many people that were less experienced than other candidates I considered.
Yeah.
And that they brought fresh perspective to the job. They brought creativity that was lacking in the position. Not to say that just like I have to admit, I wasn't totally involved in this particular office of superintendent prior to being brought in as the attorney to address the election issue. So I'm not castigating anybody, but I would push back on the idea that somebody without experience is unqualified per se. I disagree with that perception, right? And if you want to go into Trump, we could certainly, no, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
No.
No, I don't.
We don't have time for that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't believe that it's simply a question of experience, right? Then it would just be a coordination from one to the other and just pass the baton right down the line of administrators that have held the position and had the job for a long time. And it's a social promotion type of a position then versus, having candidates that come with different perspectives. So yeah, no, I have voted for many candidates over the years who lacked experience. Yeah. And I've voted for many that had tons of experience. So
okay. All right, fair enough. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about you, John. Let's go back to the beginning.